Hi everyone, welcome. We are so excited to have you here. We basically, and we'll talk a little bit more about the program at the end, but we are so excited about personal branding in general. We feel like we've made this for the 2018 versions of ourselves that took like 3-4 years to figure out all of this, all the information that we put together. And we're really just excited to share it with you because it's now a 12-week program that we've like distilled down and condensed all of this knowledge that all three of us have from our different experiences. And we're also passionate just like about how important personal branding is for everyone, for women these days and in 2022. You know, it's a different world, it's much more virtual, and we want everyone to be able to come alive 3D in a 2D world. All right, so we will start with introducing ourselves. Obviously, I'm Jessie, and if you're here, you might follow me on social media or someone else, but that's actually originally how Jen and I met, and Kelly and I have worked together before previously, now work together a lot virtually. Well, not virtually, but in our own businesses. But my background is originally in startups and digital marketing. I've worked at places like ZocDoc and OpenTable, and most recently, which is funny because I used to say this and it was like 6 months ago, but now it's like 3 years ago, but I left the Every Girl Media Group to work on my own and started the Marketing Greenhouse with Jen, and I'll pass it off to you, Jen.
Yes, thank you, Jessie. So I have an extensive background in brand management, and I grew up in a more traditional corporate path. And then starting in 2018, I decided to launch my blog full time at the same time as having my daughter, which I always laugh about because it was a complete cluster. But we're all here today to tell the story. And long story short is I've organically let my new career path unfold that's more like me. And in the meantime, I've created this whole content creation side of the business, and then found Jessie in January of 2020 and started working alongside her. We decided to launch the Marketing Greenhouse together, and our timing's always impeccable. We launched March of 2020 and never looked back. It's been awesome because we have grown nationwide, which I'm not sure that would have happened, both being from Chicago when we initially launched. We linked with Kelly probably about 1.5 years ago and share many, many mutual clients, and came together to form the collective. So I'll pass it to Kelly to share her background.
Thanks, Jen. Yes, I'm Kelly, and I've been working with Jen and Jessie and the Marketing Greenhouse for about 1.5 years now. And my background is in editorial and graphic design and brand partnerships. So I've worked with brands like Target, Sephora, Skims, on the editorial side of things and also on the visual side of things. And now I run my own graphic design studio where I focus on working with entrepreneurs, small businesses, emerging businesses to help them kind of get a handle on their visuals and communicate what they want to communicate to their audience. So I'm super excited to talk about personal branding with Jen and Jessie because it's such a huge part of what I do on a day-to-day with my clients. And I think you can take so many of those principles that I use for the businesses to the personal side of things and create something really amazing.
All right, so by the end of this webinar, you'll basically have the tools to get started building on a personal brand that's a reflection of who you are and what you value. If you want to dive deeper, obviously I said before that we'll go through the program that we're launching, but yeah, this is a really nice foundation and jumpstart to what we have built out as a full program.
Okay, so we are starting with 4 steps to kind of get you started. So the purpose of this call is to kind of give you these 4 steps in an outline to get started with what is a personal brand and what can you do for your personal brand today. So by the end of the webinar, you'll be able to create your own personal brand statement, and we'll take you through everything to get you there.
All right.
Okay, so you might be like even thinking as we're on this call, like what even is a personal brand? Like what does that mean? Or like why do I need one? Something like that. So you actually already have a personal brand, and it's just like whatever people think of or like hear when you say your name, or think of when you're not in the room and someone mentions you. So by taking control of that narrative of your personal brand, you can help yourself figure out what you want to do, where you want to go, kind of the vision and goals that you have for yourself. But you can also help others understand where you're going and help them get a good sense of how they can work with you and how they can be a part of what you're doing too. So it's helpful for you and for other people. And that's kind of what we're going to dive into today.
Oh, look, it's me. Okay, so I want to tell you guys a quick story of like when I really realized personal branding was super important and how much it could help you. And this was back when I was still in corporate-ish startup world. So in 2018, I wanted to pivot my career to go down more of a social media digital marketing path. Before, I had done some content marketing here and there and had helped out social media teams at different jobs, but I actually had a more established background in sales. I had little like on the job experience in the industry. So, but at the same time, I had been curating my Instagram and like being more purposeful about what I posted and like the themes I'm posting about. And I had also built a blog from scratch. I don't know how to code still. I know like a couple things. I can kind of hack things here and there, but like I built it from scratch using Google. And like at that point, I was kind of insecure, like using that information because I had like 3 monthly views. Like no one was reading my blog at that point. But at the same time, I was like, well, this is all I have. I was applying for a job at a company that I had really liked for a long time. And it was a social media editor position, like starting a new branch of their company. And so I kind of got a case of the fuckets. I put together my sorry, Jen. And I put together my like resume with links to my blog, with links to my social media, and was kind of like, this is who I am. Because at that point, I realized like it wasn't my resume that was going to get me the job, it was me. And then I also attached a video of myself just kind of like explaining who I was, why I wanted to do this, what experience I had. And really, it was great because my website and my social media like showed the skills that I had. It showed like my taste, it showed my passion because I wasn't getting paid for any of it, obviously with my 3 views a month. And what I knew is like, I knew I could do the job. I knew I could learn anything that I didn't know. I may have lied about being a Photoshop expert when I had used Photoshop 4 times. Luckily, Kelly was there and helped me out a lot when I got the job, but I ended up getting the job from all of this and got feedback that the video and my Instagram and my blog all helped me get the job. And that was kind of what secured it for me. And so that's when I really realized like your resume is only going to get you so far in 2022. Like it's really about who you are and how you can come to life like in a digital world. And now I'm on like that from there, I like built a career path that's so much more aligned with like who I am and what I'm passionate about. And that's how I'm here.
Okay, so I want you to either open another browser or pull out your phone. And I want you to think of 2 social channels that you think you're known for or that you use most frequently. My guess is it's going to be Instagram and something, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, a website, maybe TikTok. But I want you to open them up and take a look. And there's a few things I want you to look for. One is, do you have a bio that clearly describes who you are, what you do, and what you value most? And then the second thing I want you to look for is, do you have a consistent profile image? Are you promoting a clear image that looks like you in the present day on each of those platforms? And then just look at the overall content. Do you feel like what you're posting about and what you can see clearly depicts who you are and who you want to be? So take a minute, and anything that feels absolutely spot on, I want you to jot that down. Anything that feels a little off, I want you to jot that down too and hang on to it as we go through this presentation. Okay, so now we're going to jump in. We're hopping into the first section, which is creating a vision, and I'm going to pass it to Jessie to talk about that.
Okay, so your vision is going to give you direction. I always say, like, think of yourself in the middle of the country. We need to know if you're going east, west, north, south. Like, we've got to figure out where we're going. I think so often, you know, with so much noise from social media and you have so many friends that are doing interesting things. I don't know if you're like me, it's like when you travel or when someone else does something cool, you're like, oh, I should live here, or oh, I should do that. Like, do I want to, I don't know, whatever it is. People, like, you get excited because what they're doing looks exciting. And so this is really your vision. It helps you get clarity of like your path and what you want to do, and just an overarching, you know, idea of where you're going. I think one of the things that we all agreed on is, like, as you get older and gain more responsibilities, obviously for Jen and I, that's like marriage, children, etc. Mostly kids. But you know, for other people, I think anyone that like starts your late 20s, your 30s, your like responsibilities start to pile up, whether that's a mortgage, whether that's like taking care of parents or someone else, whoever it is. But you have so many more responsibilities than you did when you were 20, whether that's like also just being more responsible with like saving money and 401k stuff. You know, you can't just like be like, oh, whatever, I'll pay it off later, because you're like, oh, it's getting later. So I think that we want to think about that when we're creating vision as well, and be able to craft something where you can pivot and you can adjust it when needed, but it's at least showing you where you're going. Like when you were 20, you could dream and be like, I wanted this, and I want this big house, I want this. And then you like start to add up the numbers and you're like, well, do I have $4 million to spend on a house? Like, is that going to be possible? And anything is possible, but I think it's nice to have it written out so that you understand where you're going. We've created these worksheets from the personal brand blueprint workbook, the initial one, to worksheets throughout all 12 weeks of the whole program that are specifically designed to help you ground in a vision and understand more like your direction. And they'll help you gain clarity when it comes to where you want to go. The reason we think this is so important is because like there are so many studies that like when you write down what you want, you're 42% more likely to achieve it. That's just one statistic. There are a million out there. If you think of like goals and everything else, like that's how you get to where you want to go. And so to get started, to get started, we want you to get grounded in your big picture. We want you to take inventory of your values, and we want you to figure out like what's stopping you from taking the next step, or what do you think is stopping you from taking the next step? What are your limitations?
Okay, so now I'm going to chat a little bit about goals, and I think it's important that Jessie just called out that you're 42% more likely to achieve something when you write it down. About your goals, they can be short-term and long-term. Each of them connect to one another, and I often talk about this as an individual team, and with all of our clients, we're always focused on a top 3. And having 3 things that you're continually focused on allows you to be grounded and marching towards something. So specifically what that means is, where do you want to be personally and professionally? So we have a unique point of view at the Marketing Greenhouse that we think, particularly for women, people are most successful when they think about their goals together between personal and professional, because you can't have one aspect of your life jiving. They're very intertwined, again, especially for women. So what you want to do is think about your ultimate end goal. Like, what do you want to be known for? When you think about your life 20, 30, 40 years down the line, and you're thinking about a book you're writing about yourself, what's in that book? And then what are the chapters within that book? Then you can start to break down the smaller steps that help you to get there. So one of the other reasons that I love goals, because some people are like, oh gosh, goals, they feel so overwhelming. So one of the reasons why I love them is because it makes it easier to say no. When you're focused on your goals, you know what you're marching towards, and you're more confident turning things down. And that way you're not overly booked and too busy. So when you're getting started thinking about this, we want you to think, what's the one thing you want to be known for? What are 3 things that can help you get there? And then specifically, what are the steps underneath that? And again, we've got worksheets to help you get there. Part of it is within the personal brand blueprint, but throughout the program, you'll have all the steps needed. My favorite part is grounding in the why. I drive Jesse crazy with this because I come up with a new idea. I'm always pressing on why. Why us? Why this? Why are we doing it? The podcast may or may not have gone through this process before it launched.
Weekly.
Okay, so specifically, I think this is super interesting. Why is a combination of what you're good at, what excites you, and what people need. So I'll give you an example of that. I'm very good at project management. It doesn't always excite me. So even though I may be good at it, it doesn't excite me as much. So that's not like my purpose in life. However, that is a strength I can flex if the team needs it. But the important part here is that when those 3 things come together, you're really grounded in purpose. And when you're grounded in purpose, you are most excited about what you're doing, you're most engaged, and you perform best. So specifically, how you do that is starting to think about those 3 areas in terms of what gives you energy, what are you good at, and what do people need. The commonality among those 3 things becomes your why, and it could be the why for why you're a content creator, why you deserve this next role. But again, that makes you the most engaged, content, and efficient. All right, so I'll pass it over to Kelly to chat through a personal brand statement.
Okay, so now once you've kind of decided on your why, you've grounded in your why, and you've also just like written out your goals and visions and everything, you can start to kind of put that together into a personal brand statement. And that is just a way to communicate to yourself and to others quickly what you've just kind of outlined for yourself through our worksheets and through our program. Think of it as like your elevator pitch for yourself and your personal brand. So we have created a little Mad Libs style fill in the blank so that you can easily write your personal brand statement, because if you're anything like me, writing anything about yourself is horrible. So it's like terrible. So we've made it super easy by creating this little Mad Lib style where you can just drop in these different elements that you just figured out with the worksheets and grounding in your why, and then put that all together to create a personal brand statement. So I did one for myself as an example that we can run through. But before I get into that, putting this together like actually really helped me kind of figure out what I wanted my business to look at, because similar to what Jen was saying, back when I was working exclusively in editorial, I was really good at it and it felt good to be good at something, but I wasn't as passionate about it as I am now, doing much more of the visual side of things and the graphic side of things. And actually like writing down what I wanted helped me kind of decide on that. And then putting this together also helped me with starting my own business and thinking, okay, what's separating my business from other businesses that are similar to this? I'm like, what do I want to focus on? What kind of clients do I want to work with? So my personal brand statement is that I'm a brand designer, website developer, and visual specialist. Those are kind of the 3 things that I do. Definitely wanted to get brand and web in there because I enjoy them both equally. So I'm a brand designer, website developer, and visual specialist dedicated to helping brands, businesses, and entrepreneurs. So I want to make sure that I'm getting in the statement who I am actually like doing all this work for. Create a cohesive visual language that allows them to connect and fully engage with their audience. So visual language is like my secret sauce word that I use in my business all the time. And that's what I'm really known for with my clients, and why I end up getting like referrals and being able to work with multiple clients that have been referred to be my other clients, because I'm really focused on creating a visual language that's like strategic as well as beautiful. So I really want to put that in my personal brand statement. And then by leveraging their unique talents into a unified and memorable brand identity. So that's what kind of people walk away with when they work with me. And I didn't really know any of that until I like put it together into this elevator pitch. And then I was like, oh, this is such an easier way of explaining what I do, and who I work with and like who I am to someone who might ask.
Kelly, can I just add one thing into that I love specifically about your business is you've always harnessed exactly what you do really well, and you attract the clients, the type of client and the type of work that you like to work on. And I think it's exceptional for you.
Thanks so much, Jen. Yeah, I think that is a big part of putting this kind of thing together, is that when I first started out doing graphic design, I was working with, any clients that came my way. And that was good at the time, but it's like, that doesn't lead to the best work or anything like that for sure. So it's so helpful to like put this together to be like, who do I want to work with? Or like, what do I actually want to do? And when you figure that out, other people like recognize that in you, and they can see that you know what you're doing and you're working on something that really makes sense for you and your business.
I also wanted to add, I always go back to this that you both touched on. Someone at some point said to me, like, be careful what you're good at because you'll end up doing more of it. Like, and I think that was like mostly in work. And that is so true. And I think so many people end up going down that road of like, someone realizes you're good at something and then you keep on getting more, like answering emails, Jeff. You keep on getting more of that thing. No, but seriously, I think that truly that is one of the biggest things that we get stuck in, where people are like, yeah, you're really good at this. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm doing this.
It's so true. And it's like, you can always like become good at something you're passionate about too. So you don't have to get like stuck in just because you're good at it. And it like is easy to get stuck in it too, because it feels good to do something you're good at. Like it feels good.
Totally.
But so now that you have your personal brand statement, you can then translate that into the actual like visual identity of your brand. So I think of this as a really fun part. This is like, if when you were young, you like cut up your magazines and like put them together into like little mood boards and stuff. That's kind of what you're doing here. You want to take your personal brand statement and think, okay, this is the language of my brand, but how do I want people to feel? Like, what's the mood that I want to evoke, so that when people see my Instagram feed or like interact with my content, what kind of like mood are they in? Is it like serious and professional? Are they getting advice? Or is it like cheeky and fun? All this kind of stuff. So how you can do that is gather a bunch of inspiration, make a Pinterest board, and just pin everything and anything that you think even minorly reflects who you are, or like what you want your brand to be, or who you want to be. Research industry leaders and see what they're doing and like what you can take from that, but also what you can do differently. And then just curate everything down, go through everything, whittle it away until you have like a really cohesive look and feel. So I put together my own personal like little mood board that you can see here. So this is kind of like what I put together. These are kind of like some elements that I put together when I first started my business, because I was like, okay, what is my business? Like, what do I want it to look like? What do I want it to feel like? And you can definitely like see when you look at all of these images together that it's like, okay, it's calm, it's clean, it's got some visual interest. And then you can see like a couple of these images, like one is my logo, one are my headshots. And when I went to go make my logo or take my headshots, having the personal brand statement that I created and having these visuals already curated helped me decide, okay, here's what I'm gonna wear for my headshots, and like this is like how I need to take them, or like here's what I want my logo to look like, and here's how it's going to translate to merch, or like all these other items. So like putting this together is both fun, but then you can always go back to this look and feel to help you curate, what Lightroom preset do I want to use on these photos, or like, down to like the nitty gritty of what your brand looks like.
I will also say that I think a mood board is a great place to get feedback from people, to say like, oh, does this feel like me? Because I did one recently and like showed it to my husband and he's like, you are not this serious. Like you're not, he's like, it's like very moody and serious. And like, he's like, some of it's you, but like, I think you need a little bit more fun in it. And I thought that was interesting. It's better that I think sometimes you do like the 3 words to describe me and that can be helpful. But I also think like a mood board is people have like such immediate reactions to. So it's a great way to see if you're on the right track and if it really is reflecting you to make adjustments there.
That's such a good point because I do feel like it's easy to just be like attracted to all of these different styles and like
Totally.
visuals, but then yeah, you can like really whittle away by getting like other people's opinions and like really thinking about your strategy too.
Yeah. All right. So are you guys ready to find your personal brand? We're so excited. This is our personal blueprint program, and you guys are the first ones to hear about it and hear all the details. Basically, like it's a 12-week program. You can do it at your own pace. Well, it'll start off like 12 weeks, but like you don't have to do it every single week if you need to space it out a little bit more. But we purposely did it in 12 weeks so that you could do it by the beginning of next year and have it done and kind of like launch into the new year with a new you or same you, but adjusted. What I love so much about this program is like, if you think about when we were first talking, we were saying like, when like you meet a guy at first, well, not recently for Jen and I, but like you meet a guy and you pull up his Instagram profile and you're like, well, no, like that's a no, like that, let me see. And you're like scrolling to find a good picture of that person. That's kind of what I think it can be like if someone is trying to introduce you and you don't have a personal brand these days, or, whether it's like a friend trying to make a connection with another friend and being like, oh my God, you'd love so-and-so. And then they're like, well, no, she looks, that's not a great representation. And I think that is a great way to think of like what it means to not have a personal brand these days is like, how are you coming across? How are other people introducing you? Because you can always, it's like business owners. I tell them all the time, like if you give any business owner 10 minutes, they can give you a great pitch of what they do. But most of the time you're looking for like a quick pitch of like someone to see you and understand who you are in like 30 seconds. And if people can't do that these days, then you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. If a friend, if someone says, hey, I'm looking for someone to do this, and someone's like, oh, I have a perfect person for that job, and they're trying to pull you up and show who you are, is your LinkedIn doing that for you anymore? Because LinkedIn feels very like 2008 to me. Like it's not a great interface. It's not sexy. It's not interesting. And it doesn't really show your personality much. So we're excited about it because you can build your whole personal brand through this program and bring it to life. And we give you the whole path to do it. It's literally step by step. I'm very excited. And by the end of it, you'll be able to like define a clear vision of how you come to life online, and then also pave a path and have a better understanding and better clarity yourself of what you want to do and go that way and go towards that direction. And you can always like pivot here and there, but most of all, like your brand is not going to change that much, and it will inform what you continue to do, and you can change as needed, but it's a great foundation.
Okay, so I get to jump into the specifics. I am going to hit the high notes on this because in a moment I will actually drop the link to the website. It is not live yet. For being here live, you get the link first. There are 4 parts. The first is all about outlining your vision. So this goes through a lot of the steps that we've talked about today. Essentially determining what you want in life, your ideal dreams, goals, and why you want to do what you're doing. Part 2 is about curating a brand and specifically what that means to you. So you'll learn how to create the personal brand statement, which we talked about today, how you actually bring your brand to life, and then start to learn how you create a visual identity for yourself. What are the principles of that? Next is all about social media. So I don't want you to get lost in this place thinking through, well, I'm not an influencer. It doesn't matter. Everyone is on social media at this point, and whether it's your personal, profile or a business profile, you need to have the right look and feel. And this is where we'll teach you how to do that. And then one of my favorite parts, part 4, is all about making plans. So actual plans that can come to life. We want you to feel inspired and create things that are aspirational, but you will leave this program with the ultimate action plan that gets you there. So let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of that. So first of all, thank you so much for coming, because everyone who is here, as soon as the webinar is over, you'll be getting an email with a copy of the Personal Brand Blueprint Discovery Workbook. You'll also receive a planning calendar. We've gone ahead and planned everything out by week for you, but because I know some people think differently, there's a blank calendar as well in case you want to plan yourself. So pay attention for those 3 links in the email that comes out. That's a $450 value, excuse me, just for showing up. Now we get into the good stuff. So I'm going to talk more about the program in a second, but our baseline Personal Brand Blueprint members that join this go around, it is a $5,200 value. And we go through, again, all of the steps that you need, these 12 steps, so that you have a brand by the end of the year. Specifically, because I like to be planned down to the minute. It is by the second week of December. So we're not saying like, oh, on Christmas Eve, you're going to be creating. It's by the second week of December, before the world shuts down and the week is off for Thanksgiving. So this is a realistic plan that you can follow. One of the key highlights I want to call out within here is that there will be bi-weekly check-ins for you. So we'll have Zoom calls set up where it'll be similar to this. You can sign on, send your questions in advance, and either sit there and listen to other people's questions or treat it as an advising call. I think that is so invaluable, to be honest, to get access to people who have gone through it. Most importantly, the first 20 people who sign up today will get a one-on-one brand consultation to go through your workbook in the first month of kickoff. So the rest of this week, you can take time to tackle your Personal Brand Blueprint Workbook if you haven't done it yet. And then over the next few weeks, you can set up time to actually sit down with one of us and go through this. That's a $250 value. So specifically with the program, it is step-by-step. Specifically, every week you will have online trainings. That'll be about 60 to 90 minutes in total. Again, we're all dynamic women here. We know that you don't have 4 hours to sit down and invest time in yourself. We want you to get there as fast as possible. There will be worksheets that you can then do at the same time or do it on your own. And then most importantly are those accountability check-ins. So this is a great time to like meet other people who are in the program and ask any questions that you have. If you got stuck somewhere, again, this is $5,200 in value. And I'm actually going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat now. So you have first access to this. Hooray, it's out in the world.
It's out. So much work.
So again, I want you guys to really understand how important it is that we really value that you have signed up for this webinar first. This link is not live on the website. You are the only people who have access to it, because we really wanted to value the people who are here live and allow them to sign up for those 20 spots first. On that note, this is the bonus that you want. I mean, I think back to Jen of 2018 and I would have gobbled this up. So the first 20 people will receive that one-on-one time to go through your Personal Brand Blueprint Workbook. There's 2 ways that we can go about this. One is you can tell us where you struggled within the workbook, what makes you most uncomfortable, or where you need the most help focusing. The second is you can send it to us in advance and we will take a look and write down some notes for you as well. So I can't stress enough how impactful this is and how valuable it is. If you are serious about feeling good about yourself and curating your personal brand, you absolutely want this. I think the fact of the matter is we've all been in some kind of a funk since March of 2020. We've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. And life is here. it's happening. We intentionally structured this program so that by the end of the year, you can feel confident about yourself and create the brand that you want so that you can actually start 2023 off on the right foot. There is truly no excuse. And the other piece that I want to call out for you guys is you can absolutely do this by yourself too. You technically have the tools to do it based on the workbook that we sent you and the calendar. I can be totally honest with you that it took Jesse and I 2 years of working together and then pulling Kelly in and spending countless days and nights and hours working with her. It's possible, but it's going to take you some time. If you want to hit the easy button, now's the time to click that link, check it out, and sign up. We are so excited to help you guys. I can't stress that enough. And that's all we have. Here's what's next. Sign up as soon as possible. Click the link, check it out, finish your workbook. Whether you're working with us or not, please do the workbook.
Yeah,
so I will tell you, Jessie actually complimented me. She's told me that she told her therapist about it.
we did.
I have genuinely.
That's big for me. If I'm talking to my therapist about you, it's like good, usually good.
Yeah, she never talked about me to her therapist. So I will tell you, since I did the workbook a month ago, I have worked out almost every single day because that's what mentally gives me endorphins and makes me a happy, balanced person. And doing the workbook made me realize that I need to start showing up for myself better. There specifically were values that I want to stand for that I didn't think popped very well. And it made such a difference for me. I feel like oftentimes this stuff can come across from a business perspective, and it most definitely can help you from a business perspective, but I can't stress enough how much it can help you personally too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that like out of the last 25 days, I've worked out 19 of them. This is coming from someone that has been like washing their hair once a week because I have 2 little kids. So at minimum, finish the workbook and schedule your plan. You have the tools to do that. We would love to help you get there, but if nothing else, please do that for yourself because you deserve it. For the first 20 people who sign up, schedule your 15-minute phone call. This, I told Jessie she was crazy when she said we had to offer this. If you have more questions, it is linked on the website. You can actually hop on our calendar and take a personal phone call with us to ask any questions that you have. If you have hesitations, that's how confident we are in this program.
I will say with that, like the reason I do that is because I think we've run into a lot of people that are like, but do I need a personal brand? And like, like Jen said, we are really passionate about it. So we were like, we want to be able to talk to you one-on-one and like explain to you and explain how we think that it could come alive in your life and how it could help you if you feel like you're like on the fence about it. So
you can email us or you, because Jessie's crazy, you can set up a one-on-one call. Okay, so we'll now open it up for Q&A. That's what's there. You guys have the link to check it out. I will look to the chat to see if there's any questions. You can send them directly to me if you have any questions. And we'll give it just a couple minutes before we wrap up. Okay, so one question that came in is, do I need to complete the program on time? So the answer to that is no, not necessarily. We have intentionally structured it so that it is 12 weeks. It starts on Monday. You'll have access to it starting on Monday. You can complete it on time with us, but you will have access to it for as long as your membership is. So memberships are available on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or annual. You can sign up for whatever you're most comfortable with, and that's how long you'll have access to the program. Okay, another question that came in. When you think about personal branding for a corporate role, oh, I love this question. Do you develop it in the context of that company or job? So one thing I want to hit on with this is I think people really underestimate the value of a curated Instagram profile as well as a personal website. And a personal website can be a one-pager on Squarespace. But for many of us, and I think this is more common with women, it's hard to talk about yourself. It's so hard to self-promote and explain what you do. by having that visual presence live, you can then share your website or share your Instagram page with people and let that do the speaking for you. When you're specifically developing your personal branding, I would think about it through the lens of you first, and then you can always add sub components to it, maybe the right copy or words that speak specifically to the company or role. Jesse or Kelly, anything to add about that one?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay. Yeah, so I was gonna say, I think that's so right, Jen, about the website, because even before I started my business, when I was going out for editorial jobs or corporate jobs, I put together just a one-pager website where I could put some of like my testimonials and things like that, from like, even like, you know, back in the day from like professors and just like that sort of a thing, just to have everything all in one place. And that was so much easier to be able to just link to people. And I found that on the other side of it, the people who were interviewing me appreciated that too, appreciated having everything in one place, just linkable. They don't have to download like anything. It's just nice for them too. So I always get people asking me, even in my business, like, oh, should I put together a website? Like, do I even need that? And I think it's like so helpful to have that.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I also think that one of the things we talked about this on the podcast, Jen, is like, in this day and age, very few people are staying in the same exact job for like years or even at the same company. Like I know very few people that are staying more than like 2-3 years at places these days. So I do think that it's important to like, what you do is not who you are anymore. And that's almost why a personal brand is more important, because a personal brand also allows you to like extract your skills and kind of personality and who you are, and like let that shine across different things and you know, for different job opportunities, because you might have someone that's looking at you for something that you might be able to do. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into what you're doing now, because you probably won't be doing the same thing in 10 years. Like, and even if you're doing something similar, it'll pivot a lot. And I think that that's actually one of the reasons you hit on, like, do not pigeonhole yourself into the job you have now. Some of what you do can be like aligned with your personal brand, but I would not like corner yourself in with like the company, like where you are. I would allow your personal brand to be more of an umbrella of like what you're doing, where you're going.
The next question we got in is there an opportunity to get someone's assessment about your brand and what it's currently saying before you start? Absolutely. So we will have the links ready and live to start signing up for your one-on-one sessions as of Monday. You can hop in before the class even begins on Wednesday.
And that's like so helpful to have, because as Jesse and I were saying, like in the presentation, that having someone else's eyes on it is really helpful. But I also find like when I send something to like my mom or my sister-in-law, like they have feedback, but they have no idea how to articulate it. They're like, it's not you, but I don't really know why. Like, that's all I have for you. So it's like helpful to have someone who can like articulate it in a way that you can like use and apply to the actual like product.
I also, and this might sound harsh, but like a lot of times your friends are lying to you because like they're not in a mean way, but like to make you feel good, you know, it's.
Yeah, they're like, it's great.
I love it. Like our clients do that sometimes. We're like, oh, my mom said it was great. I'm like, I'm sure she did. Like, you know, and so it's nice to have like a third party. Jen will tell you I'm very honest. In my
I was going to say, if you need feedback, call Jesse.
So yeah.
You guys, we already have 2 people in. Okay, next question. Have you guys had the experience of branding in healthcare while protecting patient confidentiality on social media? So the answer is yes. Jesse, I feel like you have a little bit more experience here too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had to be like HIPAA certified and everything when I was working at ZocDoc, and dealt with a lot of doctors' offices that were trying to bring their practices online while also being very scared about like breaking HIPAA law or patient confidentiality and the such. Absolutely. I think that it's not just in healthcare. I think it's a lot of industries where you have to protect like clients or other people, that there's like privacy issues. I think that there's a lot of ways to do it, and we can, if you wanted to set up a call with us and you had like more specific things, if you want to make a note, I think we can talk you through it. Kelly, I'm sure that you've had like building websites and stuff where it's, you know, there are privacy issues that surround everything. So yeah, yes, and I'd have to know more specifics to like give you, I guess, very specific feedback on what you're trying to do. But I think that you're not the only person that has had to build a brand where you can't use everything as like liberally as you might be able to in other industries. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions out there? We'll give it just another minute. Okay, we do have one. As a new freelancer / business owner, does it make sense to create both a personal website and a website for your business, or can you combine that together? Kelly, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Kelly.
This is such a great question. I was actually struggling with this when I started my design business. And even like granular being like, okay, should I have a separate Instagram for my design business versus my personal one? Like, how much do you separate versus keep it together? And I think actually going through the workbook will help you really figure that out, because it really depends on like if your brand is contingent on, like if your business is contingent on kind of like who you are, like in terms of like influencers or things like that, it might make sense to combine them. But like for me, having my graphic design business, I really want to keep that as a niche into what my clients are expecting to see. So then I also do have my own personal website where I can be more of like me without having to think of like what my clients are expecting, and I can just have a little bit more fun with it that way. And then I use that if I want to like work with a brand partner for like my own personal like Instagram and things like that. So I think doing the workbook will really help you figure out, okay, do I need this website for like client facing things, and like who am I going to be to the people that are using my services versus like who am I to myself, and is that separate or can that be like combined together? So I think doing the workbook will really help and help you get kind of like clarity on that. And then I would also just like look to industry people that you admire. Are they keeping it separate? Are they keeping it together? And like, does it work when they're doing it, or can you kind of like do it in a different way? So all that to say, I think just listing out kind of like what's you and your personal brand versus like what's the brand for your business will really help you kind of like see them side by side and see if they're more of like of a piece together or more separate entities.
Cool. All right, you guys, we got a couple more in.
Okay, I was going to say I wanted to add to that. I think another thing to think through with that is like once you figure out, you know, what your business brand, and again, like you decide like once you figure out like what you want your brand to be for your business,
yeah,
see how much overlap that has and how much you want to share personal things, because I think it does get a lot of people struggle with this where I think they're sharing too much personal stuff on a Instagram account or a social media account that should be more business, and it's like people don't understand that like having your personality come to life does not mean like sharing everything if you're not an influencer, if you're not like a lifestyle influencer. Now, if you want to share a lot of things, I would separate those accounts. If you want to just be able to kind of like share random pictures of your life, your husband, your kids, this and that, and it doesn't like directly correlate with your business, then I would separate those two so that you can just have a, like, not a junk account, but an account that's like private where it's like your friends follow you or whatever. And then keep your business account more professional. And like, you can share again, like some of the things that make you, you. And I think that can come alive, but make sure that like, you're very clear on like what's what, because I do see people posting. I'm like, why are you posting? Like, that has nothing to do, you know what I mean? And like, that's not really attracting the clients you want and everything else. So
that's such a good point that you can like, if you separate them, you can still be like you on your business account, but it gives you that freedom to curate it more than if it's just like your one account that you're like posting everything. Like I love posting stuff on my personal Instagram that's just like, oh, like this was crazy and like, you know, this show that I like or something that
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how my clients would necessarily like react to this versus like on my design account, I can do like, oh, this is like a day in my life and stuff, but I have the freedom to be able to like curate that experience a little bit more if it was all one thing.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. Mine, Jen too. Well, actually, Jen, you have two separate accounts. You do have a personal account, but mine overlaps so much like with brand partnerships that we do that I'm totally okay with like sharing most of like my personal stuff on my regular account, and the rest I just text to my mom. But
Yeah.
I do think it's important to make sure that like if you're not like a lifestyle influencer and that's not like where your income is coming from, like make sure that if they need to be separate, you separate them, because I have seen a lot recently where people are like trying to be more personal, but then it's like, whoa, too much. Like your clients, and someone, Renee, you said that your friends aren't necessarily your clients. If that's the case, then like, yeah, separate it so that you can direct the content to your clients.
Something else that's helpful too is that Instagram has that close friends feature. So if you wanted to keep like all in one, then you could also like create a close friends thing where, you're sharing like, oh, it's my best friend's birthday today, like party or something. That's not then everyone on your account seeing.
Totally. I was about to say people don't use close friends enough, but then I was like, wait, am I just not in enough people's close friends?
So, I think this is actually a really good example of the type of conversation we would have during one of those biweekly Q&A check-ins.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And they could also be more personal because, you can like show us, like share your screen or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrea, I see that you said this is so hard to navigate. Please book a call because we can like give you more personal, like one-on-one feedback of like if you're like, oh, this specifically is hard, or I'm not trying, I'm having some tension here. I think we can walk you through it in a way that makes more sense.
Yeah. Okay, great, you guys. This has been awesome. We are running out of time here. So if there aren't any other burning questions popping up, then I am going to stop our recording, and we really enjoyed having you. Thank you for coming. And we hope to see you all inside the Personal Brand Blueprint program.
Email will be coming out right after this, right, Jen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Email's going to come out with the recording. It'll have the link and a bunch more information for you.
And email us back. You can just reply to the email if you have any questions or schedule a call.
See you soon.
See you soon, guys.